Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si G. Tonji. Welcome to Kababayan Today. Mga kababayan, we have very important news for all of you. Si Assemblymember Bonta po was elected to the California State Assembly's 18th District in 2012, where he continues to build upon his work, successfully passing legislation. In 2014, Bonta passed 20 bills through the legislature, 16 of which were signed into law by Governor Brown. In 2013 naman, the governor signed his AB 123, which would require state school curriculum to include instruction on the contribution of Filipinos to the farm labor movement. Nananawagan po kami dito sa Kababayan Today sa lahat ng mga Pilipino po at sa lahat ng mga kakilala nyo as Mr. Bonta once again spearheads for a very important bill, the Larry Itliong Day here in California. Let's hear from Assemblymember Bonta about AB 7. Mr. Bonta?
Yes, hello.
Hello, good afternoon po. Let's get right to it. For all of our kababayans who don't know this very important bill that you're trying to pass, what is AB 7?
Good afternoon po. Thank you. AB 7 is a bill, it was my first bill that I introduced this year. It requires that every year on October 25th, the governor proclaim a special day of recognition to honor the work and life and legacy of the great Larry Itliong, and that our public schools spend time recognizing and uplifting Mr. Itliong. And October 25th, of course, is the birthday of Mr. Larry Itliong. He had his 100th birthday in 2013, and I want to make sure to uplift and celebrate Mr. Itliong for his tremendous support. There have been other days of such recognition that have been passed in the state of California, including for Mr. Ed Roberts and Harvey Milk and Fred Korematsu, other great California heroes. I want, and many of my colleagues want, and I believe Californians want, a similar day to be passed into law for the great Larry Itliong.
Okay, so Mr. Bonta, para sa mga kababayan natin, for our kababayans who do not know the tremendous work that Larry Itliong has done for our Filipino-American community, and not just the Filipino-American community, can you give us a background of Mr. Larry Itliong, please?
Absolutely. So I'm very honored to be the first Filipino-American state legislator in the history of California, and I have a very personal connection to the life and work of Mr. Larry Itliong. My parents were both farm worker organizers with the United Farm Workers of America, and we lived in the headquarters for the UFW movement, a special place called La Paz in the Tehachapi Mountains outside of Bakersfield in the Central Valley. And there is where my parents lived, and I lived very near Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, great Latino leaders, and also great Filipino leaders that helped create one of the greatest social justice, economic justice, and labor movements in the history of our country and certainly our state. Pete Velasco was there, Philip Veracruz. And the story of the farm labor movement in California has often been told, and it has rightfully celebrated some of the great Latino leaders like Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, who I've mentioned. But there were other great leaders who helped create that amazing movement, chief among them, Larry Itliong. He is known as the father of the West Coast labor movement. He helped spearhead the Delano Grape Strike of 1965. He was the head of the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee and later became number 2 with the United Farm Workers of America. So he had a huge impact on the state of California.
And of course, Larry Itliong, para sa mga hindi po nakakaalam, is Filipino, yes?
Absolutely. He is Filipino. He's born in the Philippines. The Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee was largely Filipino, and when the Larry Itliong's AWOC, Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee, joined the National Farm Workers of America, which was Cesar Chavez's organization, they together created what ultimately became the world-renowned United Farm Workers of America.
Okay, so why is it very important, Mr. Bonta, that the Filipino-American community support this bill?
Larry Itliong is one of the Filipino-American community's great heroes in California and in this nation and in this world. And we need to make sure that our heroes are uplifted and celebrated and recognized for the tremendous work that they've done, not just for the Filipino-American community or the state of California, but for the entire nation and for the world. And certainly there was tremendous work pioneering, courageous work that Larry Itliong did for the Filipino-American community, for the labor movement, for working people that changed the lives of millions. And he should rightfully be recognized. And as a Filipino, our Filipino community should take a leadership role in supporting this bill and promoting Mr. Larry Itliong's life and legacy and AB 7.
Okay, so Mr. Rob Bonta, tell us, how can our kababayans help to get this bill passed, AB 7?
Yes, thank you so much for asking that question. We have a very important hearing in the first policy committee in the state legislature on March 25th. It's the Assembly Education Committee, where I will be presenting this bill for consideration and support. It'll be the first step of many to get the bill passed and to get it onto the governor's desk for consideration of signature. By March 19th, by next Thursday, this coming Thursday, we need as many letters signed by Californians and Filipinos as possible from Filipino organizations expressing support of AB 7. For organizations, please send the bills or the letters in on formal letterhead to show the organization's support. And when not showing the organization's support, please make sure it's clear that it's for the individuals. Telephone calls and emails to all members of the Assembly Education Committee is also encouraged and can really help the bill pass. So please send letters to my office and also to my email address and to our fax number. So we would appreciate any and all support. We had similar support to what I'm describing for AB 123, the bill that was passed and signed in 2013, which required the contributions of Filipinos to the California farm labor movement be taught in our public schools. And it was because of Filipinos across this state that bill got passed and signed. So we need that same support to be replicated here again for AB 7.
Well, Mr. Rob Bonta, in behalf of LA18's Kababayan Today, we are in full support of this bill. For the people that are watching right now, what do they need to specifically write in the letter?
They should write that I personally support AB 7 for passage in the state of California, or name the organization that they're a part of and indicate that they support, that organization supports AB 7 for passage in California, and that they encourage all state legislators and the governor to support AB 7.
All right.
And they can say anything they wish about why it's important to have a special day of recognition for Larry Itliong, but many of the things we've already discussed would be appropriate.
Okay, so mga kababayan, kailangan namin ng tulong ninyo. And of course, we want to recognize all the work that you do for helping our Filipino community get recognized in the fabric of society here in America. Thank you so much for all the work that you do.
Thank you for your kind words. Thanks for having me on your show, and I am honored to be able to partner with you and to serve you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rob Bonta. And once again, please write your letters of support. You can email those letters to assemblymember.bonta@assembly.ca.gov. Pwede rin po kayong magsulat at i-fax nyo po yan sa 1916-319-2118. Napaka-importante po because this is Larry Itliong Day in California that we want to recognize as the day on October 25. All right, maraming salamat, Mr. Rob Bonta, our Assembly member that is really rallying for Filipino-Americans here in America to have this very important day called Larry Itliong Day.
Thank you for your support. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din. And thank you once again, mga kababayan. Ang sabi ko nga po, magsulat po kayo. Lahat po ng kakilala nyo, ipasulat nyo rin po at ipadala nyo po sa opisina ng Assemblyman Rob Bonta. Maraming salamat po. At pagbalik naman natin dito sa Kababayan Today, makakasama natin ang PABA or Filipino-American Bar Association. We're going to be reading the new novel of Filipino-American novelist. His name is David Lat, and he wrote Supreme Ambitions. So sa pagbabalik po yan ng Kababayan Today, don't go away, we'll be right back. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.